This lonely loser is the son of a famous actress, and naturally, everyone's expecting peak main character energy. But plot twist, he's built like a background character with zero stats. Just when it seems like he's about to speedrun irrelevance, a harem of baddies start surrounding him like he's got mommy magnet perks equipped, and before long, they all live together. Yu, an unremarkable boy, transfers to the prestigious Saika Academy of the elites solely because his mother, Subaru Ayase, was a legendary prodigy who once graduated from there. On his first day, he steps into the boxing ring only to be utterly demolished by the vice captain of the martial arts club, who openly calls him a pathetic weakling. The crowd joins in, showering him with insults and questioning how someone so clueless could be the son of a woman admired worldwide for her beauty and award-winning acting. Subaru had been so gifted she graduated top of her class from a prestigious international university. Bruised and humiliated, Yu forces himself up, clinging to memories of his late mother, but he's met with even more pressure when his opponent, in an oddly motivational twist, tells him the school's 3 royals are eager to see the hidden power he supposedly has. Yu protests, insisting he's never been into sports nor received any training, yet the weight of others' expectations keeps crushing down on him. Finally, in frustration, he shouts that he's not his mother and charges at the trainer in what appears to be a burst of untapped strength. The audience braces for a grand display, only for Yu to deliver a few soft pokes that barely register. The trainer, now irritated, slams him into the ground, erasing any illusion of hidden talent. Disappointment hangs heavy as those who hope for greatness are left with nothing but bitter reality. A reality Yu has been carrying since the day he was born. Yu smirks and teases the trainer, tossing out a jab about how the more average someone is, the more they obsess over talent. The trainer notices a spark in Yu's eyes, an intensity like a top-tier actress, and realizes Yu may not have gained Subaru's skills, but certainly inherited her looks. He brushes it off as Yu walks away, only for his sidekick to rush in and remind him the royals are watching the rookie closely. Pushed over the edge, the trainer decides to beat the talent into him, raising his arm for a brutal move. Before it lands, an orange-haired fighter storms in, knocking him across the room and calling him a disgrace for picking on amateurs. The dojo calls her captain. Moments later, a blue-haired and a green-haired woman enter, demanding to know how the actress's son did on the test. The blue-haired Kazuki is a celebrity whose show tickets sell out instantly. The green-haired Miwa is the youngest ever shogi title holder. The orange-haired fighter is Nico from the athlete program, an undefeated martial arts champ with a matching ego. The crowd erupts. They're the school's famed 3 royals. Kazuki steps forward, demanding to know Subaru's son's test results, hoping for a 4th royal, but the trainer dismisses him as a talentless noob. The 3 elite girls bluntly say there's no place for him at their school. Yu calmly flashes a paper, saying he doesn't care since he's already decided to join the general education program, a revelation that shocks them, as they didn't even know it existed. Before Yu can leave with any dignity, he's roped into cleaning the dojo, apparently a loser's duty. By evening, Captain Nico's squad arrives and gasps at the spotless state, something unseen before. Walking home, Yu reflects that he's never denied being a disappointment. Since childhood, he longed for the kind of praise his prodigy mother received, but after trying countless skills without success, he only drifted further from her. He recalls a drama she starred in where she played a housewife. Though the show was far beneath her usual standards, Yu and his mother loved it, especially during her battle with a terminal illness, when they bonded over their favorite part, each episode ending with a warm family dinner. It was the first time in years she truly opened up, and Yu realized she had always longed for a family like that. Her final wish before passing away was for him to find such happiness. Determined to fulfill it, he packed up and went to Mikadono's mansion after receiving the keys and a note inviting him to drop by any time. Awed by its size, he wondered who Mikadono really was, but as he unpacked, Nico stormed in, mistaking him for a burglar. He tried to explain, but she slipped and fell in slapstick fashion, prompting him to tease her about prodigies hitting the floor, tossing her a towel like charity. Moments later, Miwa and Kazuki appeared, questioning his presence while Nico insisted he was clearly an intruder, leaving Yu puzzled about why these aristocrats were there at all. Mikadono himself calls Yu, asking if he's found the place, then explains that Yu's late mother was both his friend and benefactor, and now he's returning the favor. He casually mentions forgetting to tell Yu that he has 3 daughters and advises him to get along with them. Facing the sisters, Yu recalls his mother's final wish and realizes he must now become family with the 3 Mikadono girls, a situation that feels like a dream to him. Sharing a home with 3 talented beauties seems like a blessing from above, though the girls clearly aren't as excited. Still, with their father's word being final, they reluctantly accept it. Yu steadies himself and reintroduces himself properly, aiming to know them better, but then notices something alarming. The mansion resembles a pigsty masquerading as a home. Kazuki, supposedly in charge of the dishes, made excuses about lacking time, though in reality she tried and shattered every plate before quitting. Miwa and Miko were meant to do laundry and cleaning, yet by the look of them, they're the ones who need cleaning. After that jab, the sisters retaliate by bringing up Yu's pitiful 45 on the aptitude test, only for him to smugly correct them. It was 42. As the three of them keep trading pointless remarks and complaints, they eventually notice the surroundings now gleam like the lobby of a 5-star hotel. While they were too busy talking, the boy had already transformed the place with the skill of a cleaning wizard. The next morning, with no school to worry about, he wakes eager to bond with the girls over breakfast, planning for a slow, restful day until relentless tremors shake the entire house. The culprit turns out to be Nico, calmly smashing tiles with her bare fists in her dojo. After that spectacle, he checks on the others. Miwa is locked in a heated shogi match against an AI, while Kazuki appears to be running a suspicious chemistry experiment, tossing ingredients into a blender to make a dubious milkshake that could easily poison someone. When he questions her, she scoffs and explains this is simply their version of a morning routine, like how ordinary people brush their teeth. Yu then tries to suggest dinner together, but the eldest Mikadono sister tells him to take care of the house because their day is packed with rehearsals and other plans. Turning to Mia for breakfast company, he finds her already gulping juice, likely loading up on sugar for her brain. Feeling sidelined, the lone non-prodigy among prodigies walks to the kitchen, reminded of his mother who only ever cooked for herself, and reflects on how prodigies can be so self-absorbed that even family bonds seem out of reach. Just as Yu settles down for breakfast, convinced he can pull this off even with complete strangers, Nico walks in. Though tempted by the neatly baked food, she restrains herself, dismissing it as an unbalanced meal. Yu, trying to provoke her, starts licking the food, but she complains about the excess carbohydrates and lipids, insisting she still needs at least 20 grams more protein and vitamin B. Yu thinks it's absurd to calculate nutrients before eating, but Nico explains that proper eating is as important as training. While the girls prepare to leave, Yu recalls how his mother adjusted her diet based on the type of shoot she had. As they hurry toward the gate, Yu suddenly appears behind them and says they've forgotten something, sending a chill through them. They panic, checking their belongings and arguing over what's missing, only for him to reveal he was just wishing them a good day. Something they find unnecessary but still blush about on the way to practice, feeling oddly pleased. Yu then turns to doing the dishes when a call comes from the shady Mr. Mikadono, who says he'll be away due to his duties, leaving Yu alone with the three girls. The uncle asks Yu to support his daughters as they face upcoming challenges, saying that simply being there for them will help them open up. Yu's future father-in-law explains that each sister has her own challenge ahead. Kazuki's audition, Nico's fight for the Karate Nationals title, and Miwa's defense of her shogi crown. Hearing that his chances with them could soar if he helps, Yu eagerly hangs up, only to realize he's just a scrawny guy with the brains of a broken vacuum, unsure how to aid such tireless prodigies. But the thought of them being branded failures like he has been all his life sparks a vow to protect them from that fate. He sets out to learn more about each sister, aiming to win their hearts through warm family dinners. That evening, Nico returns from training looking down, only to remember she shares the house with a manslave. Yu tastes his soup like it's sacred nectar and offers her some, but she smugly declines, saying she has her own. After her bath, she emerges like royalty to find him fully focused on cooking something so good even the rocks outside might smell it. Yu studies countless recipe books, memorizing every detail to create the perfect dinner, which irritates Nico after she had brushed him off earlier. Miwa enters and Yu, grinning like a proud chef, boasts about serving soup that will knock her socks off, making the girls think he's just being a clown again. Nico recalls how the sisters once had a private chef preparing luxurious meals that still lacked proper nutrition, which was why she only ate food beneficial to her health. That night, after secretly devouring Taco Bell in her room, curiosity drives her to the kitchen where she finds a lavish meal on the table. Yu jumps out, hitting her with a nutrition attack, explaining it's packed with protein, vitamins, and minerals to help her get fit, plus a special sauce to make it all enjoyable. Impressed by the stats, Nico concedes, and Yu, exhausted from spending the whole day consulting a diet expert, nearly collapses. Realizing his effort, she blushes and decides to taste it, instantly praising the chef once it touches her tongue. Yu wonders if he can win her over with food like he does with cats in Minecraft, though his goofy grin makes her uneasy. Miwa, tempted by the feast, tries sneaking downstairs but gets caught by Yu, who pelts her with nutrition facts until she reluctantly sits at the table. Hearing the food was also tailored for Miwa, Nico's respect for Yu shoots up. Miwa teases Nico about her rare soft look and recent weight gain, prompting Nico to retort that Miwa isn't model material either. Miwa just laughs, claiming her figure fuels her galaxy brain. Yu enjoys the sisters' banter until Kazuki arrives, disgusted to see them eating like a wholesome family. The Riz Lord offers her B12-packed brown rice and antioxidant-rich salmon to cure her bad day, but she refuses to be swayed like her weak-willed sisters. Nico defends Yu's intentions, yet Kazuki insists she's fine with family bonding, just not eating a peasant's cooking at the same table. Yu's confidence crumbles, and Nico, trying to cheer him up, grabs his plate and eats. Yu quickly recovers, warning her she'll turn into a chubby teddy bear if she keeps stealing portions, leaving Miwa unsure if he even wants them to eat his cooking. Yu, unfazed by Nico's outrage, calmly claims it's his duty to track everything that enters or leaves her body, a remark that nearly makes Nico combust in embarrassment. 3 days after moving in with the Mikadono sisters, Kazuki still refuses to touch anything he cooks, despite their father's order to help the girls reach their potential. Channeling his inner strategist, Yu hatches Plan A. During break, squeals fill the hall as girls flock to Kazuki like moths, showering her with shallow praise. Stunned by her popularity, Yu greets them with a smile, only to be recognized as the talentless bum. Kazuki orders him away before he pollutes her aura, glaring like he's trash. Yu calls her mean, announcing he stayed up all night making something only he can give her, his cooking, prompting the girls to blush. Kazuki snaps at him for misleading everyone and vows to make him pay at home, which only fuels the rumors. While her fans bombard her with questions, Yu slips away. Later, he meets Nico to plot how to win Kazuki over, shocked by how much the correct club relies on her. Kazuki spots Yu and remembers his ridiculous claim from yesterday, growing irritated that he showed up again. Her loyal Sims are ready to confront him for using her first name. A one-sharp glare sends them scattering. Yu knows he's in trouble and turns to Miwa, who's playing shogi on her phone. Overgearing classmates struggle with an easy problem. She mocks their lack of brain cells, prompting them to leave in shame. Yu walks in, notices her different mood, and carefully invites her to lunch, but she rejects him. When he follows her across campus to spike her protests, she ends up laughing as they run like it's tag. He remarks she seems quiet, and she admits most high school girls' shallow talk doesn't interest her because she's royalty. Yu claims he relates, joking he's royal in failure and lacking sense. She teases him, calling him her little Baika. Over lunch, Yu confesses he wants to win Kazuki over, so Miwa recalls her sister's joy when their mother cooked her a special dish when she was 3. Yu rushes to guess the meal, but Kazuki suddenly appears pale, then collapses with a fever. In her room, she insists she's fine, yet Miwa burns her hand, checking her temperature, and Nico tries applying the cooling pad as she resists. Yu arrives with porridge, but Kazuki throws everyone out before crying alone over her weakness. Yu knows she's prone to getting sick, but still pushes through rehearsals. He leaves porridge at her door, yet by the second time she sends it back. Irritated, he storms into the gremlin's room and gets scolded, but when she tries to throw him out, her legs give way and he stands ready to catch her. She asks why he won't leave, and Yu says he wants her healthy so she won't miss rehearsals, even offering private lessons. Kazuki doubts his skill, but he boasts of debuting at age 2 and claims seniority. They run the script, he as the princess, she as the prince, but his stiff delivery makes her slam the door. He says he was warming up before admitting his mom got him countless auditions, all failed. She snaps that a Nepo baby can't understand real hard work. The next day, he tries again after rereading the script, rejected. On the third day, after 10 practice runs, his acting still makes her cringe. The following day, she tells him to stop bothering her, so he gives up while she recalls her team's high expectations for her to carry the film. Kazuki finally gets out of bed instead of wasting time. Seeing Yu practice in the living room, she's surprised by how terrible he still is despite all his effort, and it makes her smile. The next morning, his NPC-level acting greets her again, but this time she plays along, leading to an unexpectedly brilliant performance from Yu that leaves them both stunned. Getting teary-eyed, he pretends to celebrate, finally making his mother proud after 14 years of failure, and Kazuki feels uplifted watching the goofball glow with joy over one simple line. She tells him she'll allow a peasant like him to serve her a meal, but only under one condition. When Yu asks, she acts shy as if she's about to reveal her incognito search history, then suddenly rattles off a list of foods she refuses to eat, making Yu realize she's just too embarrassed to admit she's a picky eater. The next day, Miwa and Nico nearly collapse watching Kazuki casually enjoy Yu's cooking. convinced the end times are near. Yu praises her for finishing her soup like a good girl, but she retorts she'll eat anything without carrots, only for him to reveal he's been sneaking shredded carrots in all along, leaving her trembling. Finally sitting down, he feels relieved to have gotten the sisters hooked on his food, but the following day he's blindsided when they tell him they won't need his cooking because they'll be out practicing for their big day. He wishes them well, awkwardly feeling like a newly divorced housewife. It's not unfamiliar, his own mother often vanished for months, keeping them from growing close. Once again, he's reminded of the gap between geniuses like them and nobodies like him. And mother-father asked him to support them. He's at a loss for how. Staring out the window, he remembers a note his mother left from the hospital wishing him a happy family, and realizes he doesn't even know what that means. His mind drifts to the drama series where she played a warm, perfect mother, a show filled with wholesome, conflict-free family life. He binges all 6 volumes in one sitting, reaching the wedding episode, her supposed happiest moment, only to be struck by the truth that it was all scripted, while the family he actually has is the exact opposite of what she wanted for him. When the Mikadono sisters return, they immediately roast Miwa for looking exhausted, comparing her to someone who just came back from a coal mine shift. They then spot Yu wiping away tears while watching TV, prompting curiosity over what made him so emotional. Miwa assumes it's just another wholesome family show, but when Kazuki notices her mother on screen, she realizes Yu is still like a child longing for his mom, though in truth, he was simply vibing. With a serious tone, she tells him he doesn't have to work so hard or play house, just to make them feel like a family, and Miwa agrees. Nico adds that he's welcome to freeload since they never expected much from him anyway, which irritates him. Yu then reveals he works so hard because he once avoided bonding with his mother, believing they were too different, and now regrets it. Determined not to repeat that mistake, he insists on building a heartfelt connection with them and refuses to miss the chance for a happy family life. All 3 sisters shiver when he says happy family, and Nico mutters that such things only exist on TV. Still, Sunder humors him by asking how they could be one. Meanwhile, the drama on TV shows the protagonist proposing and kissing the heroines, sending the fictional audience into a frenzy. Watching this, Yu feels the sisters' piercing stares before they erupt in panic over his wild idea. Kazuki, though in denial, briefly imagines herself getting married. Nico convinces herself she'd rather train than marry a failure, while Miwa suspects she's been brainwashed by a cheesy love scene. Yu suddenly announces he's made his choice and calls Nico's name, freezing her in place, then insists they must know each other's birthdays, shocking the sisters further when he says she's in his grade. They mock the freeloading peasant to stay in the trash. Later, during her bath, Nico hears his pitiful scream from the kitchen, rushes out thinking it's a break-in, and finds him devastated over the lack of bread. She scolds him for crying over trivial things and realizes she's nearly naked and flees in embarrassment, bumping into Miwa, who instantly notices her unusual blush. As Miwa analyzes the cause, Yu appears with towels. Nico's hormones spike when his hand brushes hers, causing her to drop them and start bullying him, which he assumes is punishment for freeloading. Seeing Miwa flustered too, Nico asks if she also likes him, but Miwa latches onto the also and berates her for confessing. While Yu silently folds towels amid the chaos, Kazuki tells her sisters to act their age. Yu then asks Kazuki to help put a pot on the top shelf, and she teasingly asks if he needs anything else. Yu thanks her with a charming smile, and while she pretends it doesn't affect her, her sisters catch on and tease her, sparking a heated 3-way argument over who's the biggest fool in love. Fed up, Yu tells them to knock it off since they're family and admits he has no idea what they're even fighting about, leaving them staring in disappointment. After they leave, he notices the living room is a mess, cleans up, and reflects that life will never be as perfect as TV shows, though the dinner they shared is a memory he treasures. He wishes for a happy life with them and discovers an old photo of the Mikadono trio as adorable kids. Overwhelmed by the cuteness, he wonders how they turned into their current selves and dreams of taking a new photo under the cherry blossom tree. When he asks who left the picture, all 3 sisters slam the door in his face, only fueling his suspicion that one of them is hiding something, and that deep down they miss the old family days like he does. But the next morning, they all go their separate ways, shutting down his investigation before it starts. Still curious, Yu learns the prodigies travel nationwide and decides to find out where their events are held, until he strikes gold. That night, Yu prepares warm milk to help Kazuki sleep, while Miwa and Nico sulk over forgetting to book a hotel. Right on cue, their knight in sarcastic armor reveals he already reserved a 5-star stay for them, handing each a map and wishing them a happy stay. Mei pouts about surviving 2 days on trash food, with Nico agreeing, prompting Yu to tease if she can't last a day without him making her blush. Grinning smugly, he adds he's happy to join. At the shogi tournament, Miwa demolishes her opponent in seconds, impressing the crowd, only to be told her next match is against a 4th grade master. Unbothered, she plans to practice with Ai at the hotel, until a stunning view of cherry blossoms stops her in her tracks, stirring childhood memories. Returning to the hotel, she's floored to see a disguised Kazuki checking in, leading the sisters to interrogate each other. Nico arrives mid-chaos, dropping her bag in shock. Realizing the coincidence, Miwa asks if Kazuki's tournament is in the same town. Yu appears smug as ever, pointing out how wrong it is for three sisters not to know each other's plans, then proudly claims he arranged this so they finally talk. When the sisters discover Yu booked them into the same room, they blow up, but he plays it off as if he's done them a favor, giving them a perfect chance for an all-night girl talk. Shoving that aside, they demand to know why he's here, and Yu confidently announces himself as their festival guide, secretly plotting to snap a family photo whether they agree or not. The sisters quickly shut down his idea, so he switches tactics, pitching a visit to a famous shrine for good luck. Nico scoffs, saying she's not some failure like him who needs luck, but Yu counters that even Hollywood's top prodigies go there, claiming faith unlocks a new level of confidence and helps escape their dull routines. What finally gets them is his mention of the fresh seafood, and Kazuki, especially tempted, declares it's for her Insta page before suggesting they shop for some stylish outfits. They head to a kimono store Yu researched beforehand, where the shopkeepers are starstruck by the sudden arrival of the three legends. A refined kimono is chosen for Kazuki to match her elegance, while Miwa picks a playful kitty design. Yu notices Nico still sitting there looking irritated and asks if she dislikes kimonos, pointing out the variety available. She mutters she wouldn't look good in one, but a shop lady brings a sharp, bold design to match her cool demeanor. Nico flashes back to a time she wanted a girly dress, but their father forbade it, and she snaps at the shop lady. At that moment, Yu returns with a kimono radiating pure femininity, telling her it's perfect because she's the cutest girl he knows. The words hit her deeply, and when he asks her to choose between the two, she takes both into the fitting room. Stepping out with her hair tied, she leaves all three of them stunned by her breathtaking beauty. The quirky, not-so-ordinary family sets out to enjoy the lively festival, weaving their way through the bustling streets. Miwa soon complains that her stomach is growling, prompting Yu to caution her to stick close and not wander off. Before long, the atmosphere changes as the crowd suddenly spots Kazuki. In a flash, a wave of eager fans charges toward her, swarming like autograph-hungry bees. You had imagined this outing would help the sisters bond, but from the look of things, Kazuki has slipped right into Republic persona. Watching her sisters savor their food from a short distance, Kazuki feels a fleeting pang of nostalgia, though she quickly dismisses it. Nearby, a girl clearly uninterested in Kazuki tugs at her friend, urging her to hurry along, but as she turns, her sandal snaps, and she stumbles forward. In a swift motion, Kazuki catches her, holding her in a princess carry that draws impressed murmurs even from those who weren't fans. She helps the girl find a place to sit before moving on, still trailed by a growing pack of admirers. All the while, Yu struggles to keep sight of her in the chaos. Just as Kazuki is navigating the crowd, someone suddenly shoves her into the bushes and she instantly assumes it's a would-be kidnapper. But it turns out to be none other than Yu. The blue-haired girl is already bristling with fury, ready to unleash a scolding, but he calmly cuts her off, handing her food and telling her to eat and actually enjoy the festival. She refuses at first, turning away with a pout like a sulking cat, unable to fully hide her annoyance. He tells her he can't always bribe her with food, but she refuses to give in, so he pushes back, pointing out that he noticed she hurt her foot and didn't waste a second to help. Without hesitation, he examines it and realizes it's a more serious injury than she's letting on. With steady hands, he begins wrapping it carefully, slipping in a few pieces of quiet wisdom about how she doesn't need to mold herself to anyone's expectations and should just be whoever she truly wants to be. The redhead sits there, cheeks heating as if she's back in middle school, while he finishes bandaging with that calm, no-nonsense precision of his. Meanwhile, Nico and Miwa are off trying to enjoy the festival, but the orange-haired disaster is laughably bad at every game she touches. Her cheeks glow redder than a boiled tomato as she fails to catch even a single salmon, thrashing around like she's fishing with her eyes closed. Their laughter cuts short when they both freeze at the sight of their elder sister approaching, and right beside her is Yu, who has somehow convinced her to wear a shady mask for incognito mode. Yu proposes a match, pairing up with Kazuki, leaving Nico and Miwa as the opposing team. Nico wastes no time taking a jab at her sister, suggesting she should wear that creepy smiling mask all the time since her real face looks like she's ready to murder someone. Kazuki smirks beneath the mask and the game begins. Yu quickly nabs his first fish, followed by Miwa, who immediately cries foul, accusing her sister of cheating, since she hasn't even chipped hers yet. The tension explodes into a chaotic sibling brawl, with Yu quietly stepping back, recognizing this mess might actually be a rare bonding moment in disguise before slipping away to investigate some grand competition happening nearby. The challenge is to leap across lotus-shaped platforms and reach the Torii Gate, a feat that seems designed for superhumans. The prize? An absurd dose of good luck and an awkward selfie with the shrine's golden guardian. The hosts swear that using the selfie as a phone wallpaper increases luck, even offering a bizarre guarantee. While scrolling through old festival photos of the sisters, you realize this is the same contest they once conquered, the one that inspired their statue snapshot. Determined to recreate it, he decides to give it a shot. But before he can fully commit, the crowd erupts as eager contestants rush in, only to fail one after another when certain lotus platforms dip and sink instantly. The trick is finding the lucky path of leaves to reach the gate without getting drenched, turning the whole ordeal into a real-life version of Fall Guys. With each failed jump, the path becomes a little clearer, but the hosts keep grinning like villainous game show masterminds. They reveal that no one has completed the course in the past decade, except for the three prodigy sisters. Then Yu's turn comes and he sinks almost instantly, as if fate itself wanted him gone from the start. Most contestants give up once they realize retrying for a photo with a golden trinket isn't worth the trouble, despite the rules allowing it. But Yu refuses to quit, hurling himself into the water over and over, wrecking his face yet never once thinking of backing down. Even when night falls and rain pours like a divine order to stop, he persists. The hosts try convincing him it's pure luck, not effort, even offering a free photo. But Yu recalls how the sisters likely won by moving together in perfect sync, and that thought fuels him. He keeps leaping onto the unsteady platforms until he finally reaches the gate. Applauded and invited for the selfie, he instead bolts off, shouting about fetching some people. On his way to find the Mikadono sisters, a festival announcement declares an early closure due to heavy rain. Realizing he's too late, he collapses, feeling useless, hearing the girls' voices in his mind and assuming they'd gone back to the hotel, leaving him behind again. But when he opens his eyes, the three prodigies stand before him with umbrellas, asking why he never returned and why he's soaked in mud. Yu admits he thought they'd ditch him, but they assure him they're not that heartless. Called their festival conductor, they have Oliver lead the way back to the hotel, even sharing their umbrella since only 3 were left at the stall and they couldn't get a 4th. The sisters then bicker over who gets to share it with him, but Miwa wins the rock, paper, scissors match and claims the spot. After returning and bathing, they check on their so-called conductor and find him looking like a wreck. When asked if he plans to skip bathing, the redhead awkwardly admits he forgot to book a room for himself, and with all hotels full, he plans to crash in a cafe. Just as he's about to leave, Kazuki stops him, pulling him into their room, insisting it would be shameful to let a kitten catch a cold in the rain. Nico adds that since they already live together, helping him this once is no big deal. The next hurdle is his lack of a robe, but after a few awkward glances, Yu finds an extra and heads for the shower. From behind the door, he calls out for them to just forget he exists and get some rest. Eventually, the lights go out and they settle in for the night. Yet the 3 prodigies lie awake, hearts racing and cheeks warm despite no sign of fever. The story rewinds, showing Yu's earlier success in convincing the 3 sisters to take a photo with the statue. Though his antics turned it into a silly scene that left them laughing. Back in the present, he eagerly searches his bag but finds no old photo, only a letter saying she has taken it back. Smiling at the thought that it's now with its rightful owner, he drifts to sleep in seconds. Watching him conk out so fast, the sisters stay awake, exchanging quiet glances and reminiscing about old times, laughing over how little they changed despite living together and being too busy for moments like this. Miwa compares the old and new photos, revealing she had kept the original safe all along and chuckles at Yu's ridiculous effort just to get them to take another one. In their hearts, they silently thank him before falling asleep. The next morning, while chores are underway, Yu casually checks the news and is stunned to see the 3 prodigies praised in headlines for delivering exceptional results, despite having spent the previous night goofing around. The next day in class, Yu daydreams about cooking dinner for the 3 sisters. After school, he spends the day buying ingredients and arrives at the Mikadono mansion by sunset. To his surprise, the sisters are already home and he notices unfamiliar shoes at the entrance. Inside, he finds them standing before a composed man on the sofa. The atmosphere turns tense as Yu wonders who he is, but once the man speaks, Yu recognizes him as Mr. Mikadono and quickly introduces himself. Mr. Mikadono offers condolences for Yu's mother, reassuring him that her legacy will live on. Yu feels pressured by the weight of those words and glances at the serious-looking sisters. Mr. Mikadono then formally asks Kazuki about her progress. She replies that her schedule is packed and she has an interview soon. Nico confidently mentions her usual victories and Miwa also gives a flawless report. Just as Yu is about to speak, Mr. Mikadono rises and announces he's leaving. Yu stops him and invites him to join them for the dinner he had planned. Mikadono silently approaches a mask on the ground as Yu explains they attended a festival over the weekend. Mikadono grows stern and asks who planned it. The boy eagerly says it was his idea, adding that the sisters all ended up at the same place, a festival they once visited as kids. Mikadono lifts the mask and scolds Yu for interfering with his daughter's goals. Yu mentions the good luck they received, but Mikadono coldly rejects the idea, claiming he only trusts in effort, not fortune. He steps closer, insults Yu for being useless despite having a famous mother, breaks the mask in two, and calls him a talentless nobody who doesn't belong there. As he grips Yu's shoulder, his sisters finally speak up. They defend him, saying that while Yu lacks big accomplishments, he manages the household so they can focus on their careers. Kazuki emphasizes they thrive because of his constant support. When Mikadono asks why they defend someone so ordinary, the sisters blush and offer awkward excuses, but continue to insist they share a deep connection with Yu. Still unmoved, their father says there's no room in the family for friendships, reminds them they're no longer kids, bans festivals, and tells them to concentrate on their performance before walking away. Yu softly invites them to join him for dinner, but Nico politely declines, saying they no longer have time for his tasty meals. A week passes and life returns to how it was before Yu moved in. After meeting their father, Yu finally sees why the girls push themselves so hard. It all stems from their strict upbringing. He recalls the moment the sisters began to get along. That night, everyone leaves the club except Nico, who stays to practice. She had been coming home early just to share dinner, but now she's back to her old habits. The food feels dull without Yu's cooking. Even Kazuki and Miwa feel a change. Their once satisfying meals now seem unappetizing. All three struggle to understand why they can't return to the way things were. Yu, feeling the same, remember a warm family show his mom starred in and longs to create something like that. Inspired, Yu wakes up motivated. The next day, when the sisters leave, Nico notices Yu doesn't call out cheerfully like before, and it saddens her. At lunch, she opens her bag and finds not a protein bar, but a homemade bento. Her face flushes bright red, and the same happens to the other two sisters as each discovers a neatly prepared lunch. When Nico's teammates ask if she's not eating and hint they take it, she firmly insists she'll finish it herself. Meanwhile, Yu is passed out on his notebook, worn out from waking at 4 a.m. to cook. Later, seeing their lunchboxes empty, he smiles, knowing they enjoyed it. That evening, the sisters call him over and seriously tell him they want to form a co-stewardship. Puzzled, Yu wonders why they're talking about ships, but they aren't joking. They remind him their father threatened to kick him out unless he proved himself, so they offer to accept him if he helps them through upcoming trials. Each outlines what's ahead and asks for his support. Encouraged, Yu promises to make their lunch daily since they're like family, but they clarify he's just a helper. The next morning, before they leave, Yu hands over their lunches. Kazuki mentions they'll return by 7 p.m., so he should have dinner ready. He sends them off warmly, and for some reason, that small act makes all three blush again, like it's the perfect moment. During practice, Kazuki puts on a wig and awkwardly attempts to embrace her feminine side, only to be startled by two women who appear out of nowhere. Meanwhile, Nico gets a call mid-rehearsal. Her coach just got back from abroad and wants to meet. At the same time, Miwa is knocked over during her own session, and her trainer calmly reminds her it's almost time to choose her true path. That evening, when the Mikadono sisters return home, they find Yu stumbling over a flour bag. He explains with enthusiasm that he's trying to make healthier udon using whole wheat. Just as he's explaining, he slips and crashes to the floor, making the girls chuckle before agreeing to eat with him. Later at dinner, they mention the food tastes average, which reminds them how their father disliked anything bland. Still, there's a quiet comfort in the simplicity. Afterward, as Yu does the dishes, Kazuki offers to help, saying she's trying to be more feminine. Yu notes that doing dishes isn't tied to femininity, but she insists on helping anyway. Yu calmly says he only came to clear things up, adding he figured she wouldn't want to waste a kiss on someone like him. He proposes they just forget it ever happened. As he leaves, Kazuki snaps, calling him a jerk for saying that. Later, during rehearsal, she starts to think he might have been right. It's better to move on and focus on her audition. She struggles with her feminine role, realizing she's always played more like a prince. During another scene, while playing the prince again, she closely watches her scene partner and suddenly understands what she'd been missing before. But when the scene leads to a kiss, she flashes back to the earlier moment with Yu and pulls away, flustered. The director halts practice and warns her that personal issues will affect her stage work. That night, Kazuki visits Yu and tells him her rehearsals have been getting harder, so she needs him to cook energy-boosting meals. As he closes the curtains, she suddenly asks if he's free Sunday. When he says yes, she steps closer and, a little awkwardly, but confidently, tells him she wants to go on a date with him that day. While the other two sisters secretly listen in, both blush with obvious jealousy. Miwa doubts it could be a real date, but Nico tells her not to overthink it since it honestly sounds legit. They both wonder if Yu is truly fine with the situation before quietly heading back to their rooms. Afterward, Kazuki gives Yu a flyer for a heroine audition and explains she's always been cast as male characters, which has made it tough for her to act like a proper heroine. She also recalls her tutor once saying that her personal life would eventually impact her acting. Yu quickly understands Kazuki wants to go on a fake date to help her get into character. He agrees with a grin, saying she has him for the day. She warns him not to tell the others and not to get the wrong idea. Yu reassures her and says the date has to feel real if it's going to work, promising to give her the best one possible. On Saturday morning while Yu is cleaning, Nico casually asks about his Sunday plans. Yu lies, which makes her instantly upset and jealous, thinking the date must be serious if he's hiding it. Even Miwa starts getting suspicious. After returning to their rooms, Miwa quietly doubled back and caught the end of Yu telling Kazuki he'd take her on an amazing date. That evening, the mood at dinner feels tense. Yu gives Kazuki a discreet wink to show he's ready, but the other two girls catch it and suddenly give off an intense vibe that totally unnerves him, making him wonder if they're preparing for some showdown. The next scene jumps to Yu waiting for Kazuki. Nearby, Miwa and Nico hide in bushes and goofy disguises, too distracted to focus on anything else. They watch Yu jealously, annoyed by how happy he seems. Then Kazuki shows up in a very feminine outfit that leaves Yu stunned. She asks if she's late in a deep voice, catches herself and repeats it more sweetly, now calling him by name instead of new kid. Delighted, Yu begs her to keep doing so after the date. They head to the aquarium, unaware they're being followed. From afar, the sisters fume over how gorgeous Kazuki looks. While walking down the stairs, Kazuki slips up again and instinctively reaches out her hand like a guy. After a few steps, Yu realizes what's happening and asks her to do it right this time. As they sit to watch the fountain show, Kazuki silently frets over whether she's being cute enough, unsure what men even like, and when a splash hits the front row, she instinctively shields Yu like a knight again, only for him to sigh and say she's still off. Things get more awkward when the crowd cheers about how lucky Yu is, while Kazuki feels anything but cute and the date keeps slipping. Confusion over who carries the bags, sore feet from unfamiliar sandals. While the spying girls cringe from afar when Yu goes to the bathroom, Kazuki sees her reflection, sighs, and wonders if she's ruining everything he was once excited for, only to be approached by a talent scout who won't take no for an answer, making her anxious. Until Yu suddenly shows up and swats the man's hand away, asking if there's an issue. The scout sneers and asks if Yu is Kazuki's little brother, but Yu tries to act grown-up, claiming they're on a date, and that Kazuki already knows where she wants to go. When pressed, he fumbles and blurts out increasingly ridiculous ideas, even saying she wants to become a government reformer. The scout says she'd be better as a model, and Kazuki realizes Yu is still as clueless as ever. Suddenly, Yu declares the agency can't have her because he plans to marry her. The scout brushes it off as childish talk, but Yu repeats confidently that they'll face everything together. The nearby crowd falls quiet, having heard his whole speech. After the scout walks away, Yu awkwardly apologizes and asks Kazuki to forget what he said, but from her expression, that seems unlikely. He takes her hand, surprised by its warmth, and leads her off as the two envious sisters watch, worried this might become a real date. Yu soon notices he's still holding her hand without realizing, and now neither seems eager to let go. Onlookers find this scene cute, though Yu keeps being mistaken for her younger brother. Trying to seem more romantic, he changes his grip, while Kazuki starts panicking inside, unsure how a girl should respond, but keeps her composure, quietly hoping he doesn't stop. Kazuki and Yu arrive in a movie theater, and when she suggests a romantic film, he surprises her by revealing he already chose Love in April. The title instantly triggers a memory. It starred her former troupe senior, who had left male roles to debut as a heroine. A film Kazuki had purposely avoided out of fear it might expose the flaws in that transition. Yu, unaware, happily mentions the movie features an ex-troupe actor and hopes it'll inspire her. But as they exit, the audience's harsh criticism about how unconvincing and uncute the lead was hits Kazuki hard. Her father's strict words about true talent mastering any role resurface, and she's overwhelmed by pressure. Yu realizes too late that bringing her was a mistake, and the senior's poor performance likely worsened her fears. Even the spying sisters notice the date's shift in mood and question if Yu can recover from it. Later, he takes Kazuki to a Ferris wheel and urges her to join him, and despite the tension, the sisters are mildly impressed by his efforts to lift her spirits. As they pass by, the girls overhear two boys arguing that any guy who proposes on a Ferris wheel always wins his crush's heart. All three girls blush, and before Kazuki can react, Yu quietly pulls her into a cabin. Inside, Kazuki thinks Yu might be overdoing it and reflects on how different she's always been. Her tall frame led her into modeling young, and she joined the troupe at just 6. What began as fun eventually became a chain of expectations. Failure became unacceptable, especially once her father pushed her to embrace femininity. She imagines failing the audition and decides it might be better to quit than be humiliated. Her thoughts break when she sees Yu trembling from the glass floor, terrified of heights. When she asks why he chose this ride, he shouts that it had to be the perfect date, reminding her of the boy's earlier words. Then, clumsily standing, he nervously calls her his heroine ever instead of forever. She tells him to sit down and watches him stumble through another awkward moment. Despite everything, Kazuki smiles, touched that even in his messiness, he makes space for the beauty in failure. While sitting beside her, Yu scrolls through the most awkward moments of their date, prompting Kazuki to ask if he's trying to embarrass himself on purpose. As he shows each photo, she quietly watches, realizing those messy moments held pieces of her true emotions. Yu says she might actually be good at expressing feelings, making her blush before brushing it off as an excuse for failure. He smiles and wishes her luck on her audition. When they exit the Ferris wheel, Kazuki looks radiant and the spying sisters grow nervous. On the walk back, Kazuki thanks Yu and admits that she's always performed to please others, but now feels free to act in a way that's genuine, flaws and all. Yu takes her hand and tells her to remember this day, but she firmly pulls away, saying she doesn't need him to pass. A few steps later, she spins around and leans in, whispering that their earlier kiss was her first and she can't just ignore it. As Yu panics and apologizes, the spying girls desperately try to hear. Kazuki then takes off her wig and says the date is over, she has rehearsal. When Yu gets home to cook, the sisters greet him with teasing looks that make him blush, silently reminding him he's still their support too.